Hey guys, it's Alvin here, and I just came back from a 10-day trip from Japan with my family of four, and this was all possible because of real estate. In today's call, I'm going to be talking about my trip, highlighting the benefits of traveling to a country like Japan, and I also have some bonus advice that I'll be sharing about how to get your family involved. A lot of times our investors get stuck at the very beginning. Often the solution includes getting the family involved in the very beginning. There is no more civilized country in the world than Japan. Politeness, the cheerfulness. You feel like everyone in Japan signed a social contract that they were all going to behave, be in their best behavior, and they were all going to act in a way that was beneficial to society. So we started the trip in Tokyo, Japan. And Tokyo, quite frankly, beats New York by a mile in almost every type of way you could measure it. Population is over double the size of Tokyo. It's clean. People are friendly. Transportation is amazing. Train systems are great. Bus systems are great. Phenomenal walking, biking city. No matter how you want to travel outside of a car, Tokyo wins. They also have a lot of things to do. And what's cool about Japan is that they have a lot of newer activities, which I'll talk to in a little bit, but they also have a lot of traditional. So a lot of great temples are there. And one of the things about Japan, it's not like a temple where it's just an old building. It's being lived in currently. We're saying that people, like it's a living culture that's still traditional. The traditional culture of Japan is something that will continue beyond our current generations. So we would see a lot of young people actually dressed up in traditional attire and eating traditional foods. Like when you look at the top places to eat in Japan, a lot of them are traditional foods, and you'll see lines around the corner to eat these types of foods. So they also take a lot of pride in their politeness. And there's a lot of instructions of how to follow the rules. You can tell that Japan is opening the doors to more tourism, but they're also trying to educate tourism throughout the entire time of what's appropriate for their culture. And if you go to Japan, know that you will have a lot of rules and you should definitely look to follow them. So we traveled with our kids. We had a blast, took the train almost everywhere. And they have beautiful skyscrapers. So there's the Sky Tree and there's also Tokyo Tower. We went up both of them. They also have a lot of markets all over the place, plenty of places to eat. And Tokyo's nightlife is centered around eating. It's eating, you're drinking, you're hanging out. The only time you actually see people get loud is actually in late night, restaurants and bars. And people have a good time. A very social environment there. We also went to a cat cafe, which was very interesting. Okay, babes, let's do this again. Where are we?
We are at the cat cafe.
What happened with the first one?
This is take two. The first one, we went in, it was super cute, but kids needed to be older than 6 in order to get in. And we disclosed that at least it was 5 without knowing, so we couldn't go in. This one is for little kitties.
Interesting. So we don't have a cat, and after this trip, we may have to, just because the cats were so much fun to be around. And when you're traveling with kids, you always want to make sure that you have things that are on your list of things to do. And you also want to make sure that you can create a lot of those memories that they'll enjoy. So the cat cafe is something that we'll absolutely remember, and it will likely result in us getting a cat, unfortunately for us. Tokyo also has probably the best museum in the world. So this is the Tokyo Team Labs in Tokyo, Japan, and it's a interactive museum. So it has a lot of sensory that's being done. So one of the cool highlights is you're in the sensory of water, and you have to take off your shoes, you put them in a locker, and then you're walking through 2 feet high water. And a part of it actually involves going uphill a waterfall. So it's almost like you're going uphill up a waterfall, completely barefoot in the middle of a museum. There was one that had these koi fish swimming around. They're digital koi fish, but they're super cool and super fun to engage in. They had rope ladders in the dark with only using glow in the dark steps to navigate yourself around. Absolutely phenomenal museum. It is probably the best thing we did while in Tokyo. So from Tokyo, which was a super modern, super traditional, we went all the way traditional. We went over to Kyoto. One of the cool things about the drive there is you take the bullet train, which normally driving would be like 8 hours. You get there in 2, and you get to see a view of Mount Fuji. Absolutely beautiful. And we went during February. Now we went during February because prices were, quite frankly, a whole lot cheaper. You're kind of in between seasons. You have one season, which is the Christmas and New Year's festival time period. And then the next big season for Japanese tourism is the cherry blossom season. And that starts in about early March. So late February is that perfect time for, it's dead, it's cold, there's not much happening, less tourism, which for us meant lower prices. And when you're traveling with a family of 4, it absolutely makes sense to take advantage of that. Kyoto is super all the way traditional. So even for our hotel rooms, we had to take off our shoes, put them in the locker. So we spent the entire time walking around the hotel barefoot. A lot of saunas and spas and hot water jets. It's super traditional. A lot of storylines there we won't get into in today's video. The food, very clean, very easy to eat and navigate, and a lot of temples. So the highlight for me in Kyoto, which was super traditional, the hotel was great, but was actually going hiking. And I was actually going, uphill with my family, and we found a spot that was kind of along a major river there. And we followed that river all the way down to the city. And it was just fun just to be in the cold. We saw some snow flurries a little bit. And it was just a great bonding time to be in another country, freezing cold, just walking through the hillside with the family. We went from Kyoto then to Osaka. Osaka is so much fun. So it's Japanese culture, no matter where you are, it's gonna be more calm, controlled, very aware of how you are affecting other people and the people around you. Osaka is kind of where that line kind of blurs a little bit. Osaka is a little bit louder, a little bit more fun, a little bit more chaos walking down the street, all in a fun, super cool Japanese way. So like the restaurants are very, very famous for their octopus balls, their crabs. They're very famous for a very foodie type of town. A lot of people walking around. They have this a major store called Don Quixote, which you can't go to Japan and not go to Don Quixote. You go sensory overload, to say the least. And they actually have a Ferris wheel, a part of the actual retail store. We ended up renting out a karaoke room for an hour. So we sang karaoke. It was just a fun place to run around, very engaging. We had an absolute great time in Osaka. Pieces of my life without you on my mind. I'm still standing, go, yeah. So the big thing is, why am I telling you guys this? What's the significance of my trip to Japan? Well, the big part is that I was able to do it for almost free. I paid almost absolutely nothing for this trip. And so I'm going to explain to you how we're able to do that. A big reason is we use credit cards for everything. And so we used points to cover almost all the expenses. So all of the hotels, and these were not cheap hotels. Japan as a whole is cheaper than you might expect. But when you use points, it is free. So we stayed at nice hotels for free. The flights were mostly paid for, all by points. A part of it is just we just bought the flights super early. So if we would have waited, we could have paid the whole thing off with points. We just paid for it early and then just used the $500 to cover the rest. And then in total, we spent about $2,000 for a family of 4, 10 days in Japan on food, on gifts, on entertainment. For me, I'm conservative spending day to day. When I'm traveling, whatever we need to do to have a good time is what I'm going to spend it on. So we were just having a good time. So all in, 10-day trip for a family of 4, including flights and hotels, was a grand total of $2,500. And so now I'm going to break down how we were able to do that and how you can do the same thing. So as a family, we have 2 types of trips. One is a family trip where we all do together, we all plan together. The other one is an owner's retreat, which is just my wife and I, and we plan a trip without the kids. So we do 2 major trips per year. The family trip, we take turns. So last year, my wife picked Colombia. That was our family trip for last year. And then this year, my son picked, James, he picked Japan. So that was his pick. And a lot of it had to do with One Piece and anime and things like that he really enjoyed. The other part is, we're saving up points for the entire years. So all of our personal expenses we're using credit cards for. All of our business expenses, including our real estate business and my actual business, is all using credit card points. The other part of it is for our real estate business. All of our mortgages, including our personal property, is all done using credit cards. Now, I'm naturally opposed to debt in general, but after a couple of years of being 100% debt free, I've proven to myself that I'm pretty good at managing debt. And we have the entire credit card bill, all of our credit cards paid in full each and every month. And we have a pretty large emergency fund. So we're not really at risk of defaulting when using credit cards. And so we pay the whole thing off. We use a family trip, usually all paid for by points. Again, using personal, business, and investment, using credit cards, all for that. It's really easy if you do that to have $8,000, $10,000 worth of points that can easily fund an entire trip. The second way that we travel for basically free is we do what's called an owner's retreat. Our real estate investment properties, my wife and I are both the owners of that company. So we are also gonna spend time planning on our business, mapping things out and planning out for the year. So every year we have an owner's retreat where we plan about our business for the following year. So we're going to have scheduled events on this vacations, and we're going to actually come home with minutes, memos, agendas. We're going to have our entire year agenda completed during this retreat. Now, what we do is we work with our accountant and we decide to go to an all-exclusive resort or do an all-exclusive trip. We like to have one single payment cover the majority of the expense, all included, so it's all a single transaction. That makes it easier for our accountants to just group it all together as one expense, as opposed to if you did multiple different expenses, then you would have to separate and categorize each one. We like grouping it all together. And we want to make sure that we have tangible results at the end of this vacation. So while we're at breakfast, we're talking about business. While we're at dinner, we're talking about business, but it's done in a way that's fun and encouraging. And one of the benefits of planning your business on a resort is you want to figure out, like, man, if we're successful, we can keep doing this. This is part of our lifestyle. We just keep planning trips, right? We keep organizing, then we're hungry when we get back, we execute, and we just keep this cycle going. But we're planning in a very fun and light and enjoyable environment, which is how we're able to justify doing a owner's retreat each and every year. All right, so here's the bonus tips of how you can get your family engaged. This may be important for the very beginning if you're trying to convince your wife and spouse to get involved in real estate, or this could be done as you grow your portfolio to increase that engagement. The big part for me is transferring that knowledge to my kids. I want my kids to grow up knowing that owning real estate is absolutely normal. They saw their father do it, super easy. They should do the same thing. So the big part of it is to show them how they can travel for free. Get your wife and spouse involved and executing these types of trips. They're understanding that, hey, this trip is paid for by our investments. It makes it easy to see the benefits of buying real estate investing. The other part is to educate them on the benefit. A lot of times this is best by understanding their goals and explaining how real estate investing can help them accomplish their goals. So if you have a spouse that doesn't want to work forever, if you have kids that like going on trips or want to be able to afford certain things, or if they want to map out their own lives, you show them how real estate affects them on their goals, and then they can go ahead and contribute. They'll understand the benefits of real estate from that perspective. The other part of it is addressing concerns head on. So real estate is not perfect. There are challenges to real estate, and you want to absolutely be truthful about them. Real estate is a game of pros and cons. You have to always make sure that your pros outweigh the cons. A lot of that has to do with being honest about the cons and also really knowing the benefits so that they can obviously outweigh the cons. The other part of it is you want to learn together as well. This is if you're doing a sales call and like if you schedule a meeting with us, we encourage you to bring your spouse, bring your cousins, bring your kids on that call. That way they're all educated at the same time together. The other part is you want to make sure if there's any webinars or seminars going on, or if you're traveling to a property, you do that all together. Fifth and final advice that I have is to talk about real estate often. Talk about it all the time. Make sure it's a priority for you. Make sure your kids and your wife hear about you talking about real estate all the time. And the big reason for that is that you would have then demonstrated that it means something to you. It's always weird when someone has a big expense they want to take on. They've never showed interest in it ever. So if you talk about them, you're almost opening the door for more questions, for more discovery, for more conversations overall. So that's it. That was my trip to Japan. Hopefully you learned a lot about how to get your family involved and how you can use your own real estate investment business to travel for free. Now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What countries do you want to visit? So leave your questions and comments below, and I'll be answering to each and every one of them. I'll see you next time.
Bye, Trey.
Bye. Okay, done.
See you later.